in Pakistan, Field Marshal Asim Munir, who anoints himself Field Marshal, after suffering one of the most devastating military, attacks since 1971. I mean, the military has never suffered this kind of single-day loss since 1971. What Imran Khan is going through now, and this is the worst period of his trial by fire, is that he is being accused of working for the enemy country.
Why is there a situation where an army chief of Pakistan is scared of a civilian politician?
Once you're general in Pakistan, your army chief, that's it, right? You're God. But Munir is insecure, and he's a deeply insecure guy. If you see the way he looks and the way he speaks, of all these 4 dictators, I think he's the most insecure of the lot. He fears the popularity of Imran Khan. He fears the mass appeal that he has, the political legitimacy that he has. Now, for all their claims of supporting democracy and all of that, the Americans love dictators. They love dictators when they're doing the dirty work for them. And you have to hear this from Trump. Oh, he's my favorite field marshal.
Welcome to my defense. Rawalpindi has been buzzing over the last few days in Pakistan. There are stark fears in the country over the health of Imran Khan, who's not been seen in public. I mean, he's a prisoner there, so he's not really supposed to be seen in public. But there are demands from his family, his sisters especially, that they be allowed to meet him, that he make a physical appearance once, because there is a lot of worry about the state of his physical health. There were even some wide rumors circulated last week that he may have been killed inside the jail. But those rumors turned out to be mostly false news, because the sisters did manage to have one visit with him in prison. The sisters allege that the former Pakistan PM is being kept under isolation. And all this is happening as Field Marshal Asim Munir strengthens his hold on the country. He right now is the most powerful military leader of Pakistan in several years. And I think in his mind, he's now on the path to becoming Pakistan's most powerful military leader ever, surpassing all previous field marshals and generals who also ended up being dictators. So why is Asim Munir worried of Imran Khan? I'll repeat that. So why is Asim Munir scared of Imran Khan? At least that's the impression you get, especially if you listen to a press conference that was held earlier this week by the Director General of the Publicity Wing of the Pakistani military. We're going to get to that. Why is Munir scared of Imran Khan? What's really going on in Pakistan? To decode this and more, I have with me, as always, Sandeep Unnithan. Hey Sandeep, how are you?
Hey, good Dave. Good to be back.
Yeah. Before we begin the chat, Sandeep, I don't know if you've come across this piece of breaking news broken by our very own Tao from the Teen Tal podcast hosted on our sister channel, Aastak Radio. Field Marshal Asim Munir has promoted Lieutenant General Ahmad Sharif Chaudhry to the post of Wing Commander of Pakistan.
I saw that.
Referring to a video that's gone viral this morning on social media, where he is the Director General of the military wing of the military wing's publicity wing, and while answering to a question posed by a female journalist, he sort of winked at her. The video could, by the way, be AI doctored. We don't know that, but it has gone viral. The words, the lip sync seems to match. But yeah, this is happening in Pakistan as we speak.
Stranger things have happened in Pakistan.
Stranger things have happened in Pakistan, and strange things may happen, especially with respect to the topic that we are about to discuss. Before we start, though, something you mentioned just before we began recording, something to do with what you saw when you were at some military site in Delhi a couple of days ago, is a weird connection you found between Field Marshal Asim Munir and Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw.
Both commissioned into the same regiment.
Yeah.
The Frontier Force.
And the British Indian Army.
And the British Indian Army, of course. And the Field Marshal, our Field Marshal, a genuine Field Marshal, also appointed by the government of India, was commissioned into the Frontier Force, and they called PIFers, by the way. It was PIF because they were called PIF is Punjab Irregular Forces. Something about their origin. So his dog, incidentally, was called Piffer. Manekshaw's dog in this famous pictures. So they were both commissioned into that regiment. Of course, the Field Marshal Manekshaw when he was a young officer. I think he was a major or a lieutenant colonel. He had to opt for India, of course, because the frontier force went to Pakistan, and he chose the Gorkha regiment, and that's how he continued to be a Gorkha officer right until the time that he was, Field Marshal, and of course until his death in 2008. But this is an interesting bit of trivia, and actually tells you the two different trajectories of the two armies and the two countries, and indeed the two individuals. That one was made a Field Marshal. Field Marshal Manekshaw was made Field Marshal by the government in 1973 after a spectacular victory in the Bangladesh War, where you created a new nation in just about 9 months and a 2-week military campaign. And on the other hand, you have, in Pakistan, Field Marshal Asim Munir, who anoints himself Field Marshal after suffering one of the most devastating military, attacks since 1971. I mean, the military has never suffered this kind of single-day loss since 1971. So, essentially, a metaphor about the trajectories of these two nations and, of course, the two armies and individuals.
Yeah. Since you talked about 1971 with respect to Sam Manekshaw and Asim Munir, and we've discussed the obsession of Pakistani army in previously with India.
Yeah.
It also reminded me of something that Abhishek Bhalla on season 1 had spoken about, that a lot of Pakistan's current officer corps, they have that angst of 71. So apart from the whole theory on which Pakistan is founded, apart from that, the 71 loss rankles them till this date. So a lot of their outlook towards India, a lot of their how they plan sort of operations against India, it sort of also comes from there, that loss that still rankles.
Absolutely. It rankles, it rankles because, not only did you create Bangladesh, but there was that very public humiliation of that surrender, where you had the entire garrison surrendering en masse, and those images, and they will go on for as long as Pakistan is around. Officers lowering their, taking off their ranks, epaulets, lowering their weapons and all that. That's the worst thing that an army can see, And that happened to them in 71. It need not have happened. They could have averted it, but they chose not to. They chose bluster over this, and they believed in their own invincibility. And what you have is encapsulated in that stunning photograph of Lieutenant General A.K. Niazi signing that instrument of surrender in front of Lieutenant General Arora, and of course all the Indian military brass literally surrounding him. He's the only Pakistani in the frame. But that's a metaphor, and that's one of the reasons why that defeat still rankles. It was an abject surrender, and if you talk to military strategicians, they would tell you that it was possible for Niazi to actually fight for a few more weeks. He could have held off, but I think he got browbeaten, and full marks to the Indian Army and General Jacob and General Arora and the others to kind of browbeat him into convincing him that he had no option other than surrender. And so that's one reason why the Pakistan military has still not reconciled to this and will never reconcile, because A, there is 71, and B, there is that adversary who they regard as an existential threat to Pakistan. And of course, the third aspect is, and which is actually the real fulcrum, is that their entire relevance is based on anti-India hatred. And what Imran Khan is going through now, and this is the worst period of his trial by fire, is that he is being accused of working for the enemy country, India. They haven't named us, but he says that, he's actually an agent of India, and he's working against the Pakistan army and our great field marshal, and therefore he deserves to be punished and sentenced to death even. These are the kind of calls that are being made by those people who really fear him.
Right. So a recap for our listeners and viewers as we dive in. Imran Khan needs no introduction. The cricketer who won the 1992 World Cup, extremely popular in the country. He became PM a few years ago. It was widely believed that he was propped up by the Pakistan army, as almost any PM who wins the election in Pakistan usually is. And that the army did sort of, ensure that ground when
Yeah.
when the elections were taking place for him to come to power. But then he had a falling out, like all PMs always do. There was also a controversy that sort of kind of personally involves Munir, which I think is going to be a very important point on this episode. But I think we'll come to that a bit later. Is that the person who succeeded Asim Munir as the DG of ISI, Pakistan spy agency, Faiz Ahmad. The person who succeeded Asim Munir as the chief of Pakistan spy agency, ISI, Faiz Ahmad.
Faiz Hamid.
Faiz Hamid, sorry, Faiz Hamid, I stand corrected. Imran Khan liked him.
Yeah.
But then the then army chief of Pakistan did not really like him much, and he wanted someone called Nadeem Anjum to take over as the DGISI. Now, as everyone knows, army chiefs always have the last say in Pakistan. However, Imran Khan sort of stood up and delayed Nadeem Anjum's appointment by a few weeks, and this did not really go down very well. This point is something that our listeners and viewers should sort of keep in mind because it's going to come back on this episode, trust me. Right, so this happened. Imran Khan had a falling out. He was arrested in a very public show where I think I remember those visuals. You had sort of like, commandos wearing black uniforms taking him away into jail, and he's been convicted and sentenced to jail, and he's at Rawalpindi jail over charges of corruption and stealing from the state.
Hundreds of charges.
Lots of charges.
Cases have been slapped on him.
And interestingly, what might come up now is treason now.
Yes.
Because something that the DG ISPR, the publicity wing of the military, said at this infamous press conference is that he's a national security threat. His, like you said, Sandeep, joined hands with India to foment trouble against the Pakistan army. And just a couple of days later, a minister in the government said that we may consider bringing charges of treason against Imran Khan. This was basically do him for life. Now, Sandeep, my big question. Anytime we talk about Pakistan on this episode, on this podcast, in my discussions with you, you've made it very, very clear that the ultimate authority of Pakistan is the military, and the ultimate authority is the army chief. So this question in the first place that I began this episode with, that at times then seems, why am I even asking that? Like, why is there a situation where an army chief of Pakistan is scared of a civilian politician?
Well, it's, again, history always repeats itself in Pakistan. And Munir is the fifth dictator. And we here in India today were one of the first to call out the fact that around Sindoor, he carried out a soft coup, right? Where there was all the pretense of a civilian establishment in power, but actually Munir is the guy, the power behind the throne. And it's a hybrid regime. That's what it looked like. And now it's so blatant that he is like the supreme commander. And look at the titles he's crowned himself with. He's field marshal, he is chief of defense forces. I mean, if Zia and Ayub and Yahya and Musharraf and all the others were watching from wherever they are, they're certainly not in heaven, all of these guys, evil guys, they would be astonished that, he is doing things that even we've never thought of. Like, Ayub was the only guy who said, I'm going to be field marshal, and he anointed himself field marshal, late 50s, 58 or 59. That's the only field marshal they've had, by the way. Every other dictator is happy to be a general because you really don't have to, go beyond a particular rank, because once you're general in Pakistan, your army chief, that's it, right? You're God. But Munir is insecure, and he's a deeply insecure guy. If you see the way he looks and the way he speaks, of all these four dictators, I think he's the most insecure of the lot. The other four had a certain, swagger about them. They were a little confident. Musharraf certainly was. And he's the only of these five that I've personally met. He came here for the India Today conclave once. That's when I met him. And I thought he was like for all the evil that he's done, he seemed to be an incredibly confident and a calm guy, right? Munir doesn't seem to be like that. He's a guy who's always trying to prove a point. And I was talking to a few friends, Pakistanis who are in exile, who don't like him very much. And they said, Munir, he's that, the OTA guy, that officer training academy guy. So they don't call it the Officer Training Academy. We call it OTA, whatever their equivalent is. He's not even the regular blue-blooded Pakistan military, right? So he's always had that chip on his shoulder. And he's, always wanted to prove something against it. Whereas the other dictators, of course, they had their own problems, but they're very different. Personality-wise, if you look at these four versus Munir, it's totally different. And here's the fun fact. Both Munir and General Zia, in whose footsteps Munir is following right now, with the way he's going after Imran Khan. Like I said, history repeats. And in this case, it is the way Zia went after Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, right, in 77. Again, Zulfi Bhutto was no saint, right? He did some incredibly vicious things, wicked things, and he got hanged. It was judicial execution, 79. Both General Zia and Field Marshal Asim Munir are from Jalandhar, right? Zia was born in Jalandhar. Right. He went to Stephens in Delhi. Munir's parents are from Jalandhar. What are the chances of that? Like two dictators coming from one city in India. And that is pre-partition India, of course. So he is a guy who's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove something. And that explains this consolidation of power. Field Marshal, the Chief of Defense Forces. I mean, it's bizarre. Chief of Defense Forces is literally like a 5-star rank who controls everything. And he's basically told the Pak Navy and the Pak Air Force that you guys don't matter. Yeah. You're all now the Pakistan Army.
Yeah. So I want to understand what exactly is Munir scared of vis-a-vis Imran Khan. So like I said, this guy, he's been in prison.
Yeah.
You don't see him. The Pakistani public does not see him, except they have a memory of him.
Yeah.
He definitely seems to be popular. So what and why do you think does Munir feel that he needs to, at some point, act against Imran Khan? In what ways, we don't know yet, but still contain him? Like, for example, if you have his family demanding, let us meet him. Don't let them meet them. Hold him perhaps in solitary confinement, maybe invoke charges of treason against him, so you can probably keep him in jail forever, or even hang him for that alleged crime. What is it exactly in Munir's head right now that he fears Imran Khan can end up doing one day that would sort of go against him?
So what is the military? What is the Pakistan Army chief or a Pakistan Army dictator fear the most? He fears the civilians, a powerful civilian, right? Someone who can stand up to him, who has the legitimacy, who has the will and the backing of the people, right? Which Imran Khan has. And you have to give it to Imran Khan. I think he is one of the bravest politicians in the world today.
Okay.
He is staring down a dictator who can kill him like in a snap of a finger, right? He says, kill Imran Khan tonight. Just make him disappear. It will happen. Despite that, he has been holding out for almost 2.5 years in prison. He's suffered all kinds of, privations. He's put in solitary confinement. Right now, one hears that he's been, put in solitary confinement with 6 cameras. He can't meet guards. I mean, guards are looking at him. 6 guards are looking at him, cameras, and he can't meet family. So it's like, that solitary confinement where they want to break a person, literally. They want to either make him go insane, or they want him to fall into his knees and, beg for forgiveness and, look for a compromise.
Yeah.
But Imran isn't doing any of that. And that is what's riling the dictator, Asim Munir. He fears the popularity of Imran Khan. He fears the mass appeal that he has, the political legitimacy that he has. Like, take any poll, you ask any Pakistani today, and they will tell you, hands down, Imran Khan remains insanely popular in Pakistan. Imran may have made his mistakes. He's certainly no big friend of India or anything. But if you look at the fact that he is the genuinely elected people of the masses, he's the man of the masses, he's got a political party, and he's given Pakistan the kind of respect that it never had in cricket, for instance.
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere and won the cricket match, the World Cup in 1992. And he was already over 40, and people were laughing that this old man comes out of nowhere. He's the the most popular cricketer. He wins them the cricket match, the cricket World Cup in '92. He goes on to build Pakistan's first cancer hospital named after his mother, Shaukat Khanum Hospital. Incredibly popular. And here's the real thing. Why is Asim Munir so afraid of Imran Khan? It is because he's a Pashtun, right? He belongs to the Niazi
Yes.
tribe, but a Pashtun not from the Northwest Frontier Province or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. He's a Pashtun on this side of the Indus, from Punjab. He's got roots in Lahore. That is the most dangerous combination facing a Pakistan military dictator. He can't say that he's a Pathan. He is a Pathan, yes, but a Pathan from this side of the Indus.
Yeah.
The Pathan from Pakistan, Punjab, which is the epicenter of Pakistan's military, society, everything. It is the nucleus of Pakistan. It's, I mean, everyone knows that Punjab, Pakistan's Punjab province, guides the destiny of Pakistan. And this is a politician who comes from Punjab, who's a Pashtun, and who's built a fortress in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. His party, the PTI, has been voted to power 3 times, right, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. That's a province that's been around since about 9 years. 2016 is when it came up. His party has been around since 1996. It did benefit from the army, incidentally. It was propped up as a counter to the Sharif brothers, the PTI.
Yeah.
The army got him in 2018. They thought they could, manipulate him. That was Rahil Sharif and Bajwa. But Imran then developed a mind of his own. And the Americans didn't like that very much either. Now, for all their claims of supporting democracy and all of that, the Americans love dictators. They love dictators when they're doing the dirty work for them.
Yeah.
And you have to hear this from Trump. Oh, he's my favorite field marshal. Not a word about what he's done to the legitimately elected Prime Minister of Pakistan or anything. But Munir gets the job done. So he's like a hitman. So the Americans love dictators because they deliver. Who wants to go through this messy thing of a prime minister, politics and assemblies and senates and all of that? We just want the job done, and dictators deliver. So, and that's one of the reasons that he's not popular with the Americans either. So here is the thing, that Imran is not only being targeted by the Pak army, the Americans don't care for him very much either, because they see that, oh, he's not pliable. Pliable politicians are not useful for Western powers.
Yeah.
So if Imran stands up and as blunt as he's been, he's actually wrote that the edit piece in the Telegraph last year, I remember, where he actually says that if anything happens to me, I will blame Asim Munir for it. And he says, I will not bend, I will not bow, I will not beg.
Yeah.
He actually signed that off. So it's like, what does Munir do now? He can keep trying to do this, trying to make him bend, break. It's fascinating. It's like who would want to watch an OTT series, fiction, when you have this real life OTT series playing out in Pakistan?
Yeah. Just hold that thought on what would Munir do, because I'm going to circle back to that. But let's do a recap of the years when Imran Khan was propped up by the Pakistan military, supported by them. They liked him.
Yeah.
He came to power, and then what happened? What happened that he today is in jail in the condition that he is, and to a point that that the field marshal of the country right now might be even thinking of executing him. So what went wrong in the periods when Imran Khan was the PM of Pakistan, and how did this country reach this stage today?
Yeah. So Dev, as you know, Pakistan is a rentier state.
Yeah.
It needs external support. It needs external funding, whether it's your IMF or your World Bank or American aid. And a time when the Western powers become more interested in Pakistan, traditionally, is when dictators have flourished.
Yeah.
And these have been very dim times for democracies in Pakistan, right? And democracy in Pakistan, anyway, it's a very it's a bonsai democracy in any case. It can never flourish under the Pakistan army. The Pakistan army is the only institution in Pakistan that's really strong, and it does not allow anything to grow under its shadow. So periodically, what you see is that over the years, from the 60s and the 70s, you have external powers that are interested in Pakistan's geolocation, geopolitical position, that in the 50s and 60s, you had CENTO and SEATO and NATO and all that trying to contain the Soviet Union. And of course, China. So Ayub is the field marshal. He becomes really useful to the Americans.
Yeah.
Then you have Yahya Khan who takes over his Ayub's protege in 69. He's really important because he says, look, I can bring the Chinese to you. So he becomes really important to Kissinger. So they turn a blind eye to what he's doing in East Pakistan, which becomes Bangladesh. Really useful. Zia overthrows Bhutto, executes him, but suddenly becomes really useful to the West because you have this war in Afghanistan, and therefore Zia is the frontline ally in this war. 2001 happens, and Pervez Musharraf is already a dictator. He's overthrown Nawaz Sharif, and Sharif begs for his life, and he's sent to Saudi Arabia in exile. And just when you think that Musharraf is going to be a pariah, lo and behold, 9/11 happens. They need him for the war in Afghanistan. Yeah. And now, I believe, in Munir's case, there's been a confluence of many things that have happened. And the biggest thing is that the United States realizes that China is the big threat, militarily and economically, in a way the Soviet Union was not. And you need a country on the southern flanks of China, which is close to Afghanistan, all of those areas, close to the Persian Gulf, which can offer you a lot of things. It can offer you bases, it can offer you resources, it can offer you corridors, all of that. And that is the deal, the Faustian bargain that the Pak military has struck with the US administration. And you see this playing out over the last couple of years slowly till the time that Trump comes to office, and suddenly the game changes. We think Trump is friendly to India, but Asim Munir has got another deal going with him. And we saw that emerging during Op Sindoor, when the statements that came out of the White House were not exactly favorable to us. So there is and what followed that only strengthened our belief that somehow the Pak military had got to the White House, got to Trump, made themselves useful once more. So if you hear Trump's language, like I said, he's my favorite field marshal. And he's been hosted there twice or thrice, once for lunch. He's had 3 visits to the United States, high-profile ones, 2 visits to the White House, 1 public and 1 quiet lunch. I mean, this kind of things, when is the last time you heard a Pak army chief being featured like this in the White House? And so they've become useful. They've made themselves useful to the United States. And it's really bad times for democracy. And Imran is, the fall guy. He's been thrown under the bus, so to speak.
Right. And, every time I read about this, there's always this undercurrent that also with respect to Imran Khan, it's deeply personal. Yeah. And this is what I was referring to in the opening when I talked about the controversy that happened when Imran Khan was the prime minister, the succession war sort of that took place in the ISI. So you had Asim Munir, who served as DG ISI, and then you had Faiz Hamid, who took over. Then the then Army Chief General Kamar Bajwa wanted Nadeem Anjum to take over, but like I said, Imran Khan sort of delayed that appointment, basically making it seem as though he did not want him and he wanted Faiz Hamid to continue. This is right around the time there was a lot of murmurs in media reporting that factions within Pakistani army had opened up. And this was, let's say, new reporting, because this is not something you hear very often, that, you have generals and lieutenant generals, them sort of fighting each other and stuff like that. This episode that took place, it was very interesting for me back then as well, but I never obviously made connections that, we can now do perhaps in hindsight. So what do you make of this episode that took place back then? Is it linked to sort of whatever feelings Asim Munir may have for Imran Khan?
So to add to all of this, to add to what the geopolitical churning that's going on, in the world with the US-China rivalry and, of course, Pakistan playing all its cards, is the fact that Munir is someone who never forgets a slight. And there's reason to believe that this Munir versus Imran rivalry began when Imran was the prime minister, and he truncated Munir's term as ISI chief. He got a very short term of six months. right? And let's not forget that in that 6 months is when he planned and executed the Pulwama suicide bombing. That happened on Munir's watch. That should have been a big red flag to us back then. That so I always say that every time there's a terror attack, a big terror attack in India, you have to look across the border to see who the DGISI is and who the army chief is. And in this case, the DGISI was Munir.
Interesting. I missed this connection.
So it's Pulwama and Pahalgam. So the two big terror attacks against India in the last 6 years have been carried out under the watchful eye of Asim Munir, and that should have actually triggered off something. But this is the time when Munir comes into the ISI and he starts investigating Imran Khan and Bushra Bibi.
Yes.
That there is some financial irregularities and all of that. Of course, there would be financial irregularities, right? Pakistan is some of the most corrupt politicians in the world. They have houses all over across the world, in Dubai, in London, and it's all there in the public domain. Everyone knows that. It's a worst kept secret, not even a secret. In fact, they look across the border and they laugh at how modest our politicians are compared to theirs. There, it's like everyone's a Rahman Dakait, in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So he began this thing of investigating Bushra Bibi's dealings and the fact that they're corrupt and they've made money and all of that. And that's what got Imran's goat. And my sense is that the seeds of that rivalry were sown in at that time in 19. And when he was kind of kicked out of the ISI chair, DGISI, very short term, 6 months is nothing. And he was made, I think, QMG, Quartermaster General or something like that. And he would have retired and gone, but for the way circumstances, played out. Imran, of course, was unseated in, when was it, 2023? And a whole lot of things kind of lined up to make his exit, to hasten his exit.
Yeah.
And of course, Munir is the one who took the maximum benefit out of that.
Yeah.
And he triggered off this crisis with India. So, you have to ask yourself, looking back at that, was this a script that was written a few years back? This whole thing of, I will take over as army chief, then I will do the following. I will provoke India with a terror attack, knowing that India will respond militarily.
Yeah.
When India responds militarily, I will use the crisis to present myself as the only savior
Of Pakistan.
and please don't listen to the civilians because only the military can save you. So this is what the Pakistan military is one of those, it's like one of those creatures in science fiction, one of the Star Trek episodes, which actually thrives on chaos and fear and, anger and emotion and all of that. If you had civilian rule in Pakistan and there was peace with India, they would have no reason to command the kind of budgetary resources that they are. They're like a parasite that is literally sucking the lifeblood out of Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
They believe that the state of Pakistan exists to provide for the Pakistan military. It's a garrison state. And so that was the script actually written somewhere much before the Pulwama, Pahalgam attacks, before Op Sindoor was triggered off. And which is why you have to play this very carefully. If you attack Pakistan, for instance, Op Sindoor 2.0 has been spoken about. It's a very easy thing to do. We have the capability to inflict horrific military punishment on Pakistan today, given the kind of military edge that we have. But by doing so, are we strengthening Munir?
Yeah.
Are we making Imran Khan's position untenable? I mean, these are questions that you must ask. And therefore, there are some very wise analysts on our side, like General P.R. Shankar, for instance, who argues that, and he has a point there, where he says that we must not strike Pakistan militarily.
Yeah.
Because you're playing to Munir's script. He wants you to hit him. You have to tackle this very smartly. You have to tackle it politically. Means other than military.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I think for several years, so you've sort of been lulled into this this false this fallacy that the military over there is more or less, I wouldn't say benign, but it's not as harmful as it used to be previously. And this is something we discussed in a previous episode, that when Asim Munir took charge as the Pakistan Army Chief, were these questions that were not raised by our intelligence agencies
Absolutely,
in terms
yeah.
of the profile they may have done of him, in terms of highlighting, oh, this guy is, but maybe he's turned out to be a bigger red flag than anybody could have even imagined in the first
Absolutely.
place.
I completely agree. And the fact is that, look, all military leaders, all generals in Pakistan, they have, personality profiles are done of them, and they try and predict the way they are. And in Munir's case also, I'm sure that would have actually happened. They would have done that. The military is very diligent in what they do. Our RNAW, they also do these psych profiles. But uh, there's possible reason to believe that no one thought, no one imagined that he would, carry out these kind of threats. And some of these threats are routine. That, you have to accuse India of doing this, and you're fighting 1,000-year civilizational battle and all that. Munir was unusually vocal in what he said.
Yes.
And the fact that he mentioned that we're going to become a hard state, I think those kind of signals were not paid adequate attention to. We should have immediately figured that when he says hard state, it can only mean one thing: a terror attack is coming.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in Pahalgam. But Munir, again, it's like a Black Swan event of sorts, because we've not seen a dictator like this in Pakistan. So yes, possibly we've not seen a military dictator in Pakistan for more than a decade now.
Yes.
Right. And it's quite possible we missed the signs that here's another one. He's the fifth. Here's number 5.
Right. We'll talk more about this, but after a quick break.
Yunus will be the president, and a very powerful president with a lot of powers, and other roles other ministries, even a deputy prime minister, home minister, will be Jamaat people, who will again be the power, who will wield actual power.
So, in a way, in 1971, when India helped Bangladesh become independent, free itself from the clutches of radical Islamists, the same radical Islamists, their future generations, are now in control of Bangladesh.
Absolutely. The same Pakistan is back in control of Bangladesh.
The way Pakistani generals are visiting, from their chief of general staff to their ISI officers, the military exchanges that are happening, navy to navy exchanges that are happening. What does that mean for India in your view?
Very, very, concerning for India, because they're parking their submarines out there. They're sending their forces, and we may see a repeat of what had happened when the BNP and Jamaat were in power with Khaleda Zia as the prime minister. We all know, very well that militant groups of the northeast, they were being harbored and sheltered and armed and trained in Bangladesh at that time by Pakistan's ISI. Though things have improved in the northeast and we don't have those militant groups any longer, but anyone can play mischief and foment trouble. There are lots of trouble points, as we all know. So I think it's going to be bad for India.
Welcome back. There's something I obviously want to talk about the future now, what happens to Imran Khan possibly. But before we do that, there's something to sort of take off from what you just told us before the break, and something that I want to talk about at the end, but I think I'll do that now, is the sort of ingredients you need for a Pakistani military officer to develop the God complex of the level that we're talking about right now. Whether it was Ayub, whether it was Zia, whether it was Musharraf, now you have Asim Munir. The reason I ask that is that not every Pakistan army chief ends up becoming that. Right? Not every Pakistan army officer ends up becoming that, but these certain guys do. I think you've answered that in part during the first half of our episode when you talked about the opportunities, especially the ones provided by the US. So, like you said, Pakistan is a rent-seeking state, and when the US wants Pakistan to do whatever it wants to, the army chief of that particular period automatically gets into the hot seat. But apart from that, are there personality quirks? Are there specific regions from where they are? Are there specific regiments from where they are? Are there specific sort of the line of succession that they may have seen in the Pakistani military that they expose them to certain events, that you have an Asim Munir being born, you have a Zia-ul Haq being born, you have an Ayub being born, or a Musharraf being born?
Yeah, good question, Dave. And the funny thing about Pakistani generals is that many of the civilians who've kind of taken these guys very lightly, they say to you, Hamara banda hai, he won't do anything wrong. And he turns out to be the most vicious of the lot. This is a case with Zulfi Bhutto.
Right.
When he made Ziaul Haq the chief, the Pak military chief. Zia was one of the most unassuming and the most humble and obsequious of all the army chiefs.
Yeah.
He was way down in the list of, I think there were 3 or 4 names, and Zia's was not the first name. I remember that much. But he, ingratiated himself to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. And you have that thing of Zulfi Bhutto picking his own executioner. From a list of generals. And he says, no, I won't take this guy, not this guy. This guy looks okay. And he had already consolidated power. He was a very powerful civilian ruler because he had actually come at a time, he had become the Prime Minister of Pakistan, President of Pakistan, when Pakistan was the Pak military had lost legitimacy after the 71 war. There were literally people who were stoning and pelting stones at them and abusing them for the kind of defeat. And the fact that they had some 40 or 50,000 prisoners of war in Indian camps. For 2 years, we kept them for 2 years. We fed them and, entertained them for 2 years. And that is the time that Zulfi Bhutto, said that, oh, okay, now I've got all the power in my hands. And he actually started the nuclear weapons program. And it was in his watch that Pakistan began its clandestine nuclear weapons program. So when Zia took over in 1977, he not only grabbed the reins of power from Zulfi Bhutto, but also took over the nuclear program. And the Pak military has been running it ever since for nearly 50 years now. So I think a lot of these dictators managed to conceal their inner dictator very well. And I believe it's always a personality thing. They have a little God complex in them, which is completely missed by the civilians. Like you look at Ziaul Haq. Now we see him in hindsight as that very evil. If you read Benazir Bhutto's Daughter of the East, where she paints this thing of look like a English cartoon book villain, with his mustaches and his eyes look very, Zia's eyes are a dead giveaway. And then you come to Musharraf. Musharraf again was that very, yes sir, Hanji, that kind of thing. Very please all. And Nawaz Sharif got lulled into this sense of, false sense of complacency. And similarly with Munir. He's lulled whoever he's been dealing with, including Imran Khan. I'm sure Imran never figured that he would actually threaten not just him, but his family and his entire political career, his entire legacy. So that's what is at stake in Pakistan right now. You have Munir, whose clock incidentally has started now. He's reset the clock. 4th of December 2025, I get this 5-year tenure as Chief of Defense Forces. After that, he's probably going to get another extension. And he's here for the long haul. Like all Pak military dictators, they usually rule for about Ayub was the longest, 11 years. Zia was the longest. Zia had 11 years. Ayub had about 10. And who was the third? Musharraf was the third, And the fourth and the unluckiest of the lot is the Yahya, who had just about 2 years and 8 months or something. So he's looking at a long tenure for himself, 10 years or so, 5 years, 10 years. He's here for the long haul. And he sees the only obstacle in his path as Imran Khan. He is that force in being who refuses to be cowed down, to bend, to submit, to seek a truce, or, so that's why the military is going hell for leather, going after him, trying to destroy his reputation, his family, his political party, destroy him physically, mentally, all of that. It's unprecedented what's going on there.
Right. So also taking off from there and asking something that you normally don't ask about armies, militaries, because they are usually separated completely from from a country's politics, but this is a military like no other. Is the ambitions of the top generals of the Pakistani army. The reason I ask that is also, I think, because we can sort of link it to Imran Khan and Asim Munir's worry and scare of him. What we discussed the whole succession war, the succession fiasco sort of that took place with ISI under Imran Khan. Like I said, there were murmurs that there was some factionalism within the Pakistan army, and then eventually the one faction sort of carried out a purge of all the generals who were believed to be in Imran Khan's camp, or they were, enamored by Imran Khan. You said something right now, and you also said this previously as well, that he's put himself there for 5 years, and very crucially, he will not vacate the Pakistani Army Chief's chair.
Yes, as Field Marshal, he's pretty much there for
that. That basically means every other Lieutenant General right now can just like think of his ambitions of becoming a Pakistan Army Chief goodbye.
Right.
Every other many major generals as well who are on the cusp of retiring in the next 5 years, maybe even a couple of officers down the order.
Maybe only the brigadiers would be a happy lot. Yeah, so we have a chance.
there's a whole bunch of officers. Privately, some of them will not be happy. Some of them might be abusing Asim Munir, by the way. Because again, like I said, this is no normal military. This is a post that gets you dealings with the West. This is a post that eventually allows for bungalows in London. This is a post that allows for a lot of things. You're the CEO of a company, basically.
You're the CEO of a country.
You're a CEO of a country. Who would not want to be that? So there is a risk, there is a chance of some certain generals not being very happy. And if Imran Khan's image is allowed to remain, they might end up drifting towards him once again. That already happened, by the way. Is this also something that you think would be playing on Asim Munir's mind? And this can this actually play out in reality, by the way?
Yeah, it could. You never know. I mean, again, you just have to look back into history. There are there've been 4 military dictators before that, and there are basically 4 distinct parts of what happened, and this possibly gives you an idea of what could happen with the 5th, right? There's the first one is Ayub. Ayub rules for about 10 years. He's thrown out of power because he launches his war against India in 65. There's economic collapse. There's widespread discontent. People come out on the streets, and he's forced out, literally. And as he leaves, he anoints Yahya, his protege. He rules for another 2 years and 8 months. And there is a Pakistan before Yahya and there's a Pakistan after Yahya. It's like half of Pakistan. So he's booted out, and he spends his last days in house arrest, literally. Dies a broken man. Then you have Zia, who again takes over, and 11 years and a crate of exploding mangoes, and that aircraft goes up in
mysterious
flames.
Aircraft crash.
Still not solved, and Pakistan seems to be very interested in solving it either. Yeah, it's like these things happen all the time. And Musharraf, he's forced out, he's humiliated, he's declared a criminal, and he's accused of assassinating Benazir Bhutto, all of that, and he dies in exile in Dubai, and he's like shrunken. You see those last pictures of him. These are the 4 routes before every Pakistan military dictator. Why does Munir believe that his route is going to be any different from these 4 previous routes that have been taken? And there are no happy dictators in Pakistan, right? There are no happy dictators. There are no retired dictators. They're all either dead, disgraced, diseased and dead. There's no, happy ending. There's no way this ends happily for any dictator. And Munir possibly it's like that, one of those sci-fi tropes where this guy goes back into time and tries to change the thing. But every time he, destiny and that clock brings him to a certain, through various routes, it always comes down to that thing where he fails. And that seems to be the case with Munir as well. I don't believe he's going to have a very bright this thing. But for reasons that you mentioned, there are so many, there's so much of discontent within the Pak military, within civilians, who believe that, the fact that he's torturing Imran Khan, all of these things, all of this is going to add up. And it's a tinderbox. And Pakistan has always been a tinderbox. And sooner or later, it's going to explode.
Yeah.
It could happen this year, it could happen the next year. But Munir is essentially, he's living on borrowed time.
Yeah, he's living on borrowed time. And that's probably the fate of Munir. What about the fate of the person we talked of on this episode, Imran Khan? What do you think is going to happen there? What actual options do you think Munir has on his hands? Because also I think he would not want to run the risk of martyring Imran Khan as well, right? Because that would actually create a bigger sort of a problem for him. So one, if him being the field marshal, if him being at the helm of the Pakistani military is just so easy for him to deal with Imran Khan, why hasn't he sort of done that so far? And what probably is he scheming of, right?
A good question, Dev. And I think Munir doesn't know the answer to this one question. Is Imran Khan alive a bigger threat to him? Or is a dead Imran Khan a bigger threat to him?
That's a very good point.
He has not found the answer to that. And I believe that what they've been doing in the last couple of weeks, the Pak military, is putting out those trial balloons. Okay, let's put him into isolation and, float those rumors of his death and see how the world reacts. So, what you do is it's a probing attack. That's because these are military chaps. They launch a probe to see the reaction. So they've launched a probe and they've kind of figured, okay, the family came out. Imran's 4 sisters, incredible ladies. They, at this age, they're all older than Imran Khan. He's the youngest of 5 kids, right? All 4 sisters have come out in defense, and every brother would want sisters like this, so fighting, tooth and nail for him. So the family has come out. His sons, in the UK have been trying to rally support. People have, of course, come out. We can handle that. But I think what they've noticed is that the Western media is by and large very ambivalent about this. The Western leaders aren't talking too much about that. So now they've got a fair idea of, if actually something happens to him, then, we know how things are going to react and maybe we can control it. So I think they are in that mode, trying, what do we do with Imran? So, with Imran, I think there are about 3 scenarios that could play out in 2026, assuming nothing happens in the next few days in December. In 2026, 3 things will happen. A, the military will continue its repression of Imran, his family, the PTI. They want to get the, de-recognize the PTI as a political party. And that's why the anti-national and
security threat.
The national security
treason
threat and the treason things have been invoked, that you can disqualify a party based on these very grievous charges. They want to do that. That will continue. So chances are this will continue. There's a more than 50% chance of this continuing. There is a second possibility that there could be some kind of a compromise that, some third country enters and says, look, give him a safe passage.
Dubai, London.
There's that palace in Saudi Arabia that Nawaz Sharif once lived in for several years. And why this? Just wait out this regime, come back and fight. Imran is relatively young. He's 72 years. He's got a long political career. Munir is the one who has to worry about retirement. Imran is eternal as a politician, and that could be option number 2. And the third is that there could be a violent overthrow of the military, of the existing Sharif regime, the Shahbaz Sharif regime. There could be public protests. There could be breakdown, anarchy, all of that. So I think given these 3 scenarios, and of course, a 4th scenario is the Black Swan event, which could be the death of one of these principal characters, in which case then everything kind of changes. If something happens to Imran Khan, if something happens to one of the other politicians or even the army chief, then I think the game gets reset, right? But as of now, it appears that these are the 3 probable trajectories that you'll see in 2026. And I think based on what we've seen in the last couple of months, military will continue its repression of Imran Khan and he's unlikely to bend or break. Because if he breaks, then people will say, hey, listen, we fought with you and you just gave up, So he's now got his reputation and, this thing of the Pashtuns, wow, and, the Pashtun ki zaban, Pathan ki zaban, all of those tropes he has to play to. And the other one, of course, is that the compromise seems unlikely. Overthrow, it's rarely happened in Pakistan. It's happened once with once or twice. I think once with Ayub for sure, that they forced him out into exile. But it seems difficult to imagine that in present thing when Munir is so powerful. He's consolidated all power into he is, like you said, the most powerful military ruler in Pakistan today. Never had a leader as powerful as this. Everything. He is, Field Marshal, General, Admiral, Air Chief Marshal, Aladdin, like Sacha Baron Cohen's. He's everything. So he is the most powerful thing. And, so I would think that what we will see in 2026 is an extension of what we saw in 2025. Unless, of course, there is the Black Swan.
Yeah, the Black Swan event. And I get your point about an overthrow being unlikely, because I think for that you also need covert sort of support and backing and involvement of foreign agencies, whether they are intelligence agencies, whether they're so-called think tanks, stuff like that. And that, like you said, it isn't really happening right now, at least as far as the West is concerned. So yeah, that overthrow does seem unlikely. But what happens next is something that we'll know only in a few weeks. So we'll keep an eye out, and we'll talk more on this once we have some more to go off by. That's it, Sandeep. I think we'll end the episode there. Thanks a lot. Fantastic chat. And I think the summary and the headline point of this chat is what you said at the very end. It's because it's something I never even thought of, that, Asim Munir hasn't figured out Imran Khan, is he a bigger threat if he's alive or if he's dead? That's actually a very, very solid statement to make. So thanks, Sandeep. Fantastic chat as always.
Thanks for having me, Dev.
And thanks as always to our listeners and viewers. That's it for this week's Defense Dose. For more, tune in next week. Till then, stay safe and not cross any boundaries without a passport.